Okay, let's do it.
It's time for Cinema Savants.
I like this ship. You know, it's exciting.
Your weekly source for movie news.
An uncharted island.
Let me list all the ways you're going to die.
Movie reviews.
Short of being set afire on stage, he's died the most rock and roll death imaginable.
And the occasional Hollywood rumor.
The only thing we don't have a god for is premature ejaculation. But I hear that that's coming quickly.
Hosted by Todd Vandenberg.
It's like the Mantis. We always get our man.
And Rob Steele.
Mrs. Peacock was a man?
Just keep swimming. Just keep swimming.
Everyone signed? Yes. Good. On we go.
Welcome to this week's episode of Cinema Savants. He's Todd Vandenberg. I'm Daisuke Aramaki. You can figure that one out. We've got a whole another hour, provided Blog Talk Radio keeps this up, of movie news and TV news. And boy, did I review the crap out of Ghost in the Shell. And we're going to be talking about that. Oh, do I had, you know, if you listen to the show, you knew I had issues with this movie before it came out because I'm a fan. Not a different word that was used by one of the producers later. No, that's a bit different. But like I said, we'll get to that later. But I wanted to bring this up because something happened. I don't. It's interesting that we use this particular intro credits because it's not the premature thing that was mentioned in the credits, but
it's not.
I remember. I think it was just last week that I talked about YouTube TV.
Yes,
and how that it's coming soon, folks. It hit April 5th. Surprise!
Rob is a genius, a diabolical genius.
I was not expecting it to hit that soon. I was thinking, June, July, August. No, next week. Oh, well. Or last week in this case. And you get a variety of channels, but they're all streaming. There are some interesting omissions. There is no CNN. There is Fox News and MSNBC, but no CNN. But you get all your networks and a bunch of sports channels and some what they're calling entertainment and lifestyle channels, like Nat Geo and Sci-Fi and the USA Network. But there's also going to be Showtime is available as a premium. So, hey, a new way to watch TV. It includes, up to 6 DVR libraries. So
that's going to be their their secret weapon is the DVR ability. Because I understand it, DirecTV streaming still doesn't have DVR capability, and YouTube has enormous DVR capability, which is pretty cool. Very interesting.
Because no storage limit, and they'll keep all of the recordings for up to 9 months.
Comcast can keep up to a year, but they definitely have storage limits, so it's kind of a wash. And really, if you're not going to watch it in the next 9 months, that's sensible. But no storage limits, that's amazing. And interesting that they went that because they know a whole lot of people, they're not watching things when they're actually on. Even if it's streaming, they still want to be able to store it and catch it later and catch it offline. So very smart decision on their part.
I think so as well. Very cool. And because we've got so much review stuff to get through, I'm going to go ahead and hit the stinger for the good, the bad, and the whatever, just to get into that a bit. Oh, wait, I'm sorry. We're not doing the Ghost in the Shell review yet. Anyway, this week's good stuff. Because there's a few good things that I found. Doctor Who fans are going to like this. John Sim is coming back to play the Master again this season. He's the one the blonde-haired guy who took over the world during the David Tennant years. And because it's a time travel show, sure, why not? He's going to come back and also be the Master alongside Michelle Gomez's Missy, who is, if you watch the show, a regeneration of the Master. So 2 Masters versus 1 Doctor should be interesting, I would think.
I would think. I would agree.
Let's see, other good news. In the same vein of Ghost in the Shell, I suppose, one of its precursors, theatrically speaking, if in the live action area, was The Fifth Element, which is coming back to theaters with a new 4K restoration, which I thought it looked beautiful the first time around.
Yeah, definitely.
If they've done a good 4K job of it, it's going to be breathtaking. Because even now, that's one of those movies you look at and go, okay, this was really well done. Mm-hmm. And the movie's 20 years old, which means I'm very old.
But happens to all of us.
Coming back to theaters on May 14th and May 17th. Tickets are available through Fathom Events, which I've never heard of before, but sure, why not? The other bit of good news I have involves Joss Whedon's Batgirl, which we talked about.
Lovely.
Was that just last week? Maybe the week before?
Yes. Last week, yes.
He announced that which version of Batgirl it's going to be, because DC has multiple versions of all of its characters. It's going to be the New 52 version, which basically means it's post-killing Joke, which means she's been shot by the Joker and paralyzed, but now she's healed and back out there as Batgirl. So I always thought that was a good idea, because I hated the idea of her being paralyzed forever. I don't like the idea of anybody being paralyzed. It's just a creepy thing to me.
Agreed.
But, this is post-killing Joke version. I like that idea.
Yeah, it's a very good idea.
Yeah. Then there's our bad news. And the first piece of bad news we have comes from Michael Bay, who said, let's see if I can find the quote here. There are 14 Transformer features currently being outlined to become movies. And I have just one thing to say to that, and actually I'm going to quote James Earl Jones here. No one wants the Transformers movies we have now. We don't need 14 more. They've blown all the storylines as it is. What else can you possibly do with this?
Well, the plot matter. The plot doesn't really matter. They just do the same plot that they've done.
They're all
the robots fight, and people stand around and watch them fight. So they can do that 80 times, and some people unfortunately will still go watch it. So whatever.
I still don't like the idea.
No, I don't either. I don't either.
See, other bad news comes from the world of James Bond. Daniel Craig has said he will do one more Bond movie. And I don't know. For me, I love the Bond movies, with the exception of Roger Moore, and even those I'll put up with. If it's between watching The Voice or Bond, I'll watch Bond.
Yeah.
But I was thinking the end of Spectre, which is the most recent Bond movie. This is not a spoiler. Daniel Craig drove off into the sunset in Sean Connery's DB5. And to me, that seems like a perfect end to the James Bond series. If you want to do, just end it there, fine. And if you want to reboot it in a few years, go right ahead. But that was the perfect ending for it. Don't keep going. You're done. Just stop. Or at least take a bigger break. Or if you want to do that.
I was going to say, this is the film industry. It's going to be a break. They're not going to stop. But
I know.
Yeah.
But or at least do another recasting. A lot of people wanted Tom Hiddleston, but they have said and I love the bizarreness of this. They said they do not want Tom Hiddleston as Bond because he's dating Taylor Swift.
Okay.
I'm sorry. What?
Yeah, not sure why that would make any difference or makes any sense. Clearly, Chris Hardwick will be the next James Bond. I mean, we all know that, so it's done. It's a done deal. He's doing everything else.
I would have thought so.
He's got a new technology coming up soon. So yeah, Chris Pine sitting in and Chris Evans on the bench just in case. So why not? Yeah, I'm more than happy to see Daniel Craig do another one. I totally get what you mean. That would have been a good time to sign off, but I would like to see him come back just because Spectre was underwhelming to me. That's the only Daniel Craig film that kind of left me like, I mean, I enjoyed it, but it was no Casino Royale. I mean, that was awesome. There was just something kind of a little lifeless about Spectre for me. So I would like to see him come back and hopefully get a tighter script and just nail this one again, and then drive off and have, please God, Idris Elba take over. That's the one I really want. I would love to see him take over Bond, and just to see people scream about it because they would be angry.
I'm not going to argue. I won't scream about it. I want that too. Right?
Yeah, I mean, there are a lot of people that would be great. Hiddleston would be wonderful, but yeah, I have a feeling they won't screw it up because they nailed it with Daniel Craig. And since the same people, I think, would be making that decision, I think they'll make a lot of choices too.
So, let's see. And now on to the whatever section. Part of this is good and part of this is not, which is why I put it in whatever. The Oscars have said that they're making 2 key rule changes. One of them is because of last year's Best Documentary winner, which was O.J. Made in America. And the problem that people had with that was not that it wasn't a good documentary. It's that it was on TV and not in a theater. So it should be up for an Emmy rather than an Oscar. I would have thought, duh. But now they're making that different. They're saying they're only doing theatrical documentaries, which I would have thought they were doing in the first place, but what do I know?
Yeah.
So that's the good part. The bad part is they're changing who can vote for Best Animated Feature, which is going to be a, what are they calling it? A preferential voting system a la Best Picture, which means movies like The Red Turtle and Kubo would not really be eligible, or I'm sorry, not really be voted on and put into the category to be voted on. It would be more Finding Nemo, The Secret Life of Pets, Zootopia, made by major studios and released everywhere, as opposed to the good stuff. So it's a good thing from the Oscars.
As far as O.J. Made in America, I figured they must have shown it in a theater somewhere, and it was shown in theaters, although you would have to sit through 7.5 hours of it at once. That was my other thought. It's like it's a documentary series, and really, it's excellent. And I'm not saying it doesn't deserve the Oscar, but just the category is like, okay, you did show it in a theater, but seriously, how many people went to see this in a theater? How many people would sit through 464 minutes of a documentary, no matter how compelling, in one sitting? I mean, it's not a movie. So it was really odd.
I have trouble sitting through the Lord of the Rings movies. I'm not going to sit through 7 hours. We sat through enough OJ as it is, haven't we?
Yeah, while it was happening. So, yeah.
Yes.
Not saying it's deserving, but it's just very odd that it was even nominated. I mean, what an odd thing to do. It's smart on ESPN's move to put it in the theater, so it would be eligible. Totally get that. Work the system, and they did. But very weird to consider that a movie because, like you said, it's not. It's a documentary series made for television. So the animated things, that's really irritating. That's just protecting the big studios from smaller companies. That sucks.
Let's see what you make out of this story. It involves Sylvester Stallone. Again, we're doing good with that opening credit sequence today. Did you know he was in Guardians of the Galaxy 2?
I had heard that a while ago. In it. Yes.
I had forgotten. His role has been released, kind of. There's a potential spoiler that comes along with this. his character is called Stakar. Now, there's only one Marvel character in that name with that name, and he is one of the original Guardians of the Galaxy. Because we're not getting the originals in the movie. This is a whole new team. The originals included a character named Starhawk, who is Stakar. Now, the reason I'm putting this in the whatever category is the character of Starhawk, and I'm going to make this an extraordinarily short version, his male body merged with his wife's body. So Sylvester Stallone, and I don't know if they've told him this yet or not, is technically playing, to my knowledge, the first transsexual superhero.
Are they going to get Bridget Nielsen to work with?
That would be hilarious.
They might as well.
That would be absolutely hilarious if they did that. No word yet on if they've done it. No word if we get to see the female form at some point. Just struck me as weird.
Ordinarily, I would say no way, but considering what the first film was like, I'd be shocked if they didn't. I would be absolutely shocked if they didn't. Mentioning Stallone, rumors were out early that he was out of the Expendables. He was not going to be in Expendables 4. And then Schwarzenegger came out and said, nope, not going to do it. And Wesley Snipes and Dolph Lundgren, not that they really matter that much, and Arnold is just doing cameos, but still, they were all saying, nope, not going to do it if Sly's not in it. And now he's saying he's open to being in it. So for those of you who like big trucks going boom, it sounds like Sly will quite likely still be in Expendables 4, so your life is safe.
Ta-da.
There you go.
As opposed to clowns. Did you see the fuss made this week?
Yes.
About the It trailer. Mel Magazine, which I had never heard of before, but apparently it exists, interviewed several real-life clowns who are very disappointed with the trailer for Stephen King's new It movie because there's a clown in it, and he's creepy and scary, and clowns are supposed to be nice. So there are a lot of real-life clowns who are very displeased with the new trailer. How stupid do you think this is? I think it's stupid, but what do I know?
I think it's pretty stupid. One thing I'm glad you mentioned the trailer. I noticed in a lot of the promo images for the new version where they're showing Pennywise, they have in almost all the images, the clown is looking downward. Pennywise is looking downward, so his face is tilted down, so you get the large arch of the eyebrow, so it looks more menacing. And I hate that. That is the cheapest frickin' trick ever. You're looking at a bad director when they do that. That's one of the worst things to me in all of the whole mess of the Star Wars prequels is when Anakin's bad because he's glowering downward because now he's evil. It's like, get away from that. If you don't have an actor who can convey a sense of menace without tilting his head downward, and you don't know a better way to get him to do that, get out of the damn industry. That just pisses me off because it's so cheap and ridiculous. Like, that's what a 5-year-old does to look angry. It's like, come on. Get
I want to ask you this because you've read the book and I haven't. A lot of these pictures, he has a characteristic that I normally don't. I'm not going to say tease or make fun of. I just think it's an odd feature for this character. Does he have a 5 head in the books? Because a lot of these pictures, and if you don't know the term, normally most people have a forehead. Above the eyes, before the hair. It's the forehead. His is a bit big, so it's called it's been jokingly called a 5 head because there's just that much more of it.
I don't remember if that's the case in the books. Not. I am sad to report. He definitely does in the new version as well. And
absolutely.
Probably. It's even more pronounced really in this one.
You can map of China on this forehead. It's massive.
Almost life size.
I just
Yeah, it is. I just hope they change the ending. My God, the ending of that book is awful. Worst ending he's ever done, and he's done some bad endings. If you don't believe me, read Under the Dome. There's a terrible ending too.
Ooh,
but
yeah.
Jesus. Anyway, we love you, Steve. Just sometimes your endings aren't the best. You just get tired after you get to page 1600 writing, I guess, and you said, "Okay, I'm done."
Wanted to ask you this because I put this in the whatever category because I don't know what to make of this, and this is also, I guess, a bad endings movie. Christian Bale, our previous Batman, has been signed to play Dick Cheney in a forthcoming movie, and I can't. Have you heard about this?
I've heard about that.
It's supposed to be. Is it a documentary? Is it because Stephen Carell and Amy Adams are in it? I'm trying to figure out if it's a documentary or a comedy or what. I'm trying to also picture Batman, I guess now playing the closest equivalent we have to Darth Vader.
He has played some unusual characters. I mean, he absolutely has.
Here's another one.
But for the life of me, I cannot see him playing Dick Cheney. I
can't.
It just doesn't match. And he's a great actor, and if he probably can pull it off, but I would just I can see a lot of different people playing him. Like Ed Asner's still alive. He is Dick Cheney. He's the anti-Dick Cheney because he's not evil. But other than that, he can play him, as this miserable, irascible old bastard, or take up, Mr. Potter from. You'd have to dig him up a long time ago because the actor who played him passed away a long time ago. But, dig him up from It's a Wonderful Life. That's Dick Cheney sitting right there in the wheelchair. But I shook my head when I read that casting. It's like, Chris? Huh? Very weird.
Actually wanted to bring this up, too, because you mentioned Ed Asner. And I'll tie him in with Batman. Do you know how he ties to Batman?
Please tell me.
This is really weird because the Justice League animated series that came out, God, was it 10 years ago? Maybe more?
Something like that.
When they had some of Darkseid's minions, there was one named Granny Goodness, who was this old lady who kidnapped children and tortured them and turned them into more Darkseid.
Yes. I had forgotten
Granny Goodness
said that.
Which when you hear Ed Asner and go, he's playing a grandmother? What? You go, wait, that's not going to work. But then you hear it and you go, oh my God, that's beautiful. It's not going to fit any better than that.
Granny Goodness, yeah, I had forgotten that until you said that, and he's awesome. Yeah, he's absolutely awesome in that role. Yeah, she is no one to be trifled with. That is for sure.
Despite the name, don't let the name fool you.
And he could play Granny Goodness on the screen too, because
that would be brilliant.
They physically resemble each other quite a bit, shockingly. So that would be wonderful. That would be wonderful.
Let's see. I don't know that I have really any trailer news this week, except for one really stupid headline, because the only trailer I know that hit this week was My Little Pony, which made my kids happy, and apparently I'll be going to see it in November. But I saw a really stupid headline for a trailer, and it read, quote, extended trailer for forthcoming Mummy movie has new footage. And I thought to myself,
really?
How are you going to make an extended trailer without new footage? And the only thing I could come up with was, it's the new trailer, but it's only the old footage. We're just showing it in slow motion and making it extend. What? No, that doesn't.
They're showing it twice. I mean, it's like, yeah. That's.
Wow.
Yep.
And it came up to me. Spring break was this week for us because I live in Augusta, Georgia, and we have the Masters tournament here. And our spring break always coincides with the Masters, so everyone who lives here can get the hell out of town before these psycho golf nuts show up. But spring break, I know for a lot of people, is next week or the week after. And I was looking, where are the spring break movies? Because the only ones I see are the Smurfs and the Fate of the Furious, and I'm not sure either of those qualify.
Yeah, good question. I guess they're not there.
Okay, well, that was easy. Next subject.
Well, spring break is, though, I mean, some schools down here in Florida they had spring break literally 3 weeks ago. So it's getting so stretched. Yeah, it's getting so stretched out. It's wow. Spring break is just a month-long event, even though it's just a week. It just depends where you are. So very weird.
I guess they got to go to a theater and see Ghost in the Shell when it came out.
I guess they did. Do you think they liked it?
If they've seen the TV series, the anime, read the graphic novels, played the video games, probably not. But if you've never seen it before, I had so many issues. Because if you listen to the show, you know I've been wanting this movie to be good, even though I knew it wouldn't be. I mean, there were so many different things. Like, there's a scene where the Major and the character of Bato are on a boat. The boat docks. Bato disappears. Gone. Where did he go? We continuity? Who needs continuity? This is a sci-fi movie. The Major is confronted with a series of... They're supposed to be police officers in combat masks, but they're more in... what are those called? The virus prevention masks that they wore in the during the Black Death. They're more like that, and they're not supposed to be. But I'll give them this. One of the cops actually called... God, I've lost her name. Scarlett Johansson's character, the Major, and not Major. Because apparently her name in this movie is Major Mira Killian, which I think is stupid, because Major is supposed to be a rank if you've watched any of the other stuff that goes along with this. But apparently, you know, people have strange names for kids. I knew a kid when I lived in Germany, right? They named, this couple named their son Legend. No pressure on the kid at all. Just, you know, his name is Legend.
None.
Fine, whatever. Let's see, there's apparently a main government guy in this movie, over Chief Aramaki, really. His name is Cutter. Who the hell is this guy? I haven't seen him in any other incarnation. Everything else, they talk about they go to the Prime Minister of Japan. That's who's supposed to be over them, not whoever the hell this guy was. But, you know, speaking of Aramaki, he had a couple of... You mentioned the actor in the pre-show. I've lost his name already.
Takashi Kitano. Beat.
Thank you. Wonderful actor.
He's awesome.
Couple of odd things with him, though. He would always speak in Japanese with subtitles. No one else did. I didn't catch anyone else that did that in the movie. But if that's what you want to do, fine.
And sometimes they didn't even subtitle it, which was interesting.
Just to annoy everybody, I think. There was one Asian lady in the movie, and she spoke stereotypical Asian, but she spoke in English. And I was like, why not just subtitle her too?
Yeah,
that would work
that was
so
odd.
much better than. And let's see, the other thing I had with Aramaki, toward the end, and only anime fans are going to catch this, he used his briefcase not like Aramaki would use a briefcase, but more like Armbrust would use in Kitty Grade. This is a theme that I'm about to start. Kitty Grade is actually a wonderful series despite the name. Here we go. More stuff with Ghost in the Shell. Secondary characters like Saito, Ishikawa, Togasa, and Bulma. Sparingly used, if at all. I didn't even notice Bulma was in the movie. Pazuwa, not in the movie at all whatsoever. I'm sure he's very happy about that because I wouldn't want to be in this either. The main thing I had a problem with in this movie, and this is going to sound stupid, so bear with me on this because it is going to make sense, are the cars in this movie. Mm-hmm. Because in Standalone Complex, which is the TV show, It's a sci-fi movie, a sci-fi drama set in the future, and I get that. However, it's not set that far in the future, and to ground you in reality a bit, in kind of a subconscious way, whenever there's an outdoor scene, like we're going to go to the car in the parking lot but talk on the way, you recognize the cars in the background. You go, hey, that's a Nissan, that's a Volkswagen. Oh, look, a Toyota. Wait a minute, was that a Lamborghini that went by on the street? You recognized the cars, and that grounded you back into reality. In this movie, the cars look like they were from Total Recall. Not the new one, the Schwarzenegger one. And these are the cars that they drove on Mars that looked like, cardboard frames built on wheels. And that just took me out of it completely. I did not like that. And they had to spend money on that. So, hey, you could have saved money by saying, Steve, go get your car. We're going to drive it across the screen in this scene. Would that have been such a horrible thing? Not a bad thing. Let's see. What else did I find wrong with it? It had the wrong plot. How about that?
The plot. Yeah.
Ghost in the Shell, to me, is not a character-based show. It's a detective series set in the future, like I said that a minute ago, where in the movie, originally we were told this movie would have the Laughing Man as a bad guy, and he's I'm going to call him a semi-villain of season 1. They changed it to Hideo Kuze, who's the semi-villain of season 2, but the movie ended up being more of Total Recall, where we have Major Mira Killian going, who the hell am I, through most of the movie and trying to figure out who she is, instead of trying to figure out this massive crime that involved getting the big Section 9 involved with solving the story. Now, there were something else that went into this. Actually, I guess in a better way of putting it is bits and pieces of one of Masamune Shirow's other animes called Appleseed were thrown in. And it seems like they confused the character of the Major with Appleseed's Dunan Newt, who is trying to figure out who she is. Like, you got the wrong anime. And that's when it occurred to me that, and with the kitty grade thing, they're not making Ghost in the Shell. They're trying to make every anime movie ever and shove it all into one thing. Because, if you look at the TV series and the previous animated movies, they're just, the backgrounds are all just cityscapes. They don't have these big holographic Blade Runner-esque holograms everywhere. That was Akira, which is a different anime movie altogether. Incidentally, the holographic communication parts where they talk to each other over what would be a telephone didn't work for me. That was the parts where everyone turned into sand, if you've seen the movie, and didn't catch what was going on. That's what that was supposed to be, and they didn't do it right. There were no Tachikomas. Like I said, the SWAT combat masks, completely wrong. I will give them this. They got Batu's dog right. So
the dogs were good.
The dogs were good. Overall, the movie is stunningly beautiful. I will give them that. If you've seen the trailer, you're looking at it going, well, yeah. But if you're a fan like me, you're going to find a lot of issues with this movie. Because it's not Ghost in the Shell. It's some bizarre remake of Blade Runner. So it's not just the whitewashing of the character of Motoko Kusanagi. It's not and I found this one recently, and I didn't know what this meant. Apparently, there's a queer baiting issue going along with this movie, where there was the lesbian kiss in the trailer, and everyone went, "Oh, gay people will love this." No. If you watch Standalone Complex, you kind of know Motoko. I'm not sure if she's actually a lesbian, and I frankly didn't care. I was more interested in the storyline. But I actually always got the impression that she had a male brain but put it into a female body just to screw with people. Which
interesting.
I honestly thought it was a thing.
Which there's no reference to in the film. In this film, I should say. So it's definitely alluded to that it's a female brain. So that wouldn't be the issue. And that's such a minor sequence. I mean, I enjoyed the movie, but not follow Ghost in the Shell. I can see where people who haven't followed it would enjoy it more. You know, if you don't know the source material, you don't know what they've left, what they've changed. I did watch the 1995 anime today after I saw this, and liked this version less, having seen the source material. Because again, a lot of you buy the property, you can do whatever you want with it. I get that, but you have to do it better. That's the issue. If you improve on it, by all means. But if you do a worse job of it, then you should have stuck with the original material. This is similar to Logan, which I liked Logan when I saw it in the theaters. When I read the comic afterwards that it's based on Old Man Logan, they made some key changes there that, frankly, were stupid, which would have made the movie much better. And it's a good movie, but it could have been a great movie if they'd followed the damn book better. And it's the same with this. It's a fun movie. But this could have been a much better movie if they'd followed the original more closely. Not like slavishly, but, I mean, Cutter, like you said, Cutter comes out of nowhere. Cutter really is the villain of the film. And I'm looking at IMDb, and he is, spoiler, who cares? Not many people are watching this movie anyway, so we'll get to that in a second. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. He is the 11th person listed in the cast.
You'd think it's
kind of odd. Yeah, you think, and he's a bad guy. You don't know he's like the big bad guy, but he's a bad guy like when it starts. So it's not exactly a shock that he turns out to be a bad guy. Kuze's an interesting character. The one thing I was thinking the whole time watching this and having watched Lucy, which I enjoyed quite a bit, is, for the love of God, will you make a Black Widow film? Because basically Scarlett Johansson has done Black Widow movies twice now, with various sci-fi trappings, but she's Black Widow. She's running around in skin-tight suits kicking ass. Damn it, let her play Black Widow. I'm getting tired of this crap. She'll be 52 years old by the time they finally let her play Black Widow. And by that time, she won't feel like it. She probably still could do it, I have no doubt, but I enjoyed it, but it's nothing great. And definitely, if you've followed Ghost in the Shell, you'll be disappointed in this film. I mean, there's no two ways around that. Just looking at the box office, a lot of people decided they weren't into it because it's been out 2 weekends now. It's only made $31 million. That is not great. Overseas, it's done quite a bit better, but this is not the hit they were looking for. Spent $110 million on it. Worldwide, they made $124. So, this is not a box office triumph at all.
And that's actually just the money they spent on the movie. They're saying there's reports that they're going to be losing at least $60 million because of all the advertising and marketing and everything. And
there's been a lot of advertising. Yeah, they've spent a lot on it.
Quote from Paramount's domestic distribution chief, Kyle Davies. He said, quote, "We had hopes for better results domestically. I think the conversation regarding casting impacted the reviews." And here's the part that pisses me off. Nope. "You've got a movie that is very important to the fanboys since they based it on a Japanese anime movie." Fanboys? Really? They can't just be fans. No, fanboys. Right. Oh, they're just little fanboys. Bite me.
I guarantee you.
I want a family-friendly show, but this guy is not helping.
Now, realistically, how many people out there decided not to see Ghost in the Shell because they didn't cast a Japanese actress, as opposed to the number of people who wanted to go see it because it's got Scarlett Johansson? There's no way they did not improve their box office with Scarlett Johansson. It's not doing big box office because it's not a great film. I mean, I think it's a great film. I mean, I think it's fun, but that's all it is. And for a film that's been anticipated for 20-odd years, you can't make an okay popcorn film. That's not going to float. So it has nothing to do with casting Scarlett Johansson. It has everything to do with the script. And it's a shame because it looks great, and Scarlett Johansson is good. The actors are good. They just needed more depth. There's not a lot going on in the film. It's a lot of eye candy. And her running and kicking ass, which is fun, but she runs around and kicks ass in other films, which are much, much better. So
there is some minor good news that's coming out of this, though. Production IG, who did Standalone Complex, has said there's going to be new Ghost in the Shell on the way. That's cool. Now, they haven't said that it's going to be Standalone Complex Season 3, which is what people have been waiting for 15 years I've been waiting for Season 3 of this. And they did a fantastic job. If you get a chance to see, it's called Ghost in the Shell Standalone Complex. I know it's a long name, but it really is worth seeing. I think it's roughly 20-minute, 26-episode seasons. And wow, it's good. It really is. And you'll get to see the car thing I was talking about and the visual cybernetic cell phones, which should have been in this movie but weren't. Fans know what I'm talking about. If not, watch the TV show. You'll go, oh, I get it.
Ooh. Do you mean fans or fanboys?
Oh, yeah, fight me. But
that's such an idiotic thing for him to say.
It is. But, this was a bad adaptation. But if you want a good adaptation, there was a good one that came out this past week when they updated I'm going to call it the classic Teen Titans story, The Judas Contract, which was a great storyline back in 1980 when this came out. It's the first, it's the series where Robin, the original Dick Grayson Robin, turned into Nightwing. That's how long ago this was. Now, since then, DC has undergone 2 reboots. And the Teen Titans are a very different team than when it was then. But what they did in this movie was update the original story using the new characters. So it's still the storyline from the 80s, but it's updated with the new Robin being Damian Wayne, Bruce's kid. Read the books, that'll make sense. The new Blue Beetle, who was not in the original story. But they took that original story and adapted enough of it so it makes sense. And yes, it's still animated. Yes, it went direct to DVD or streaming or Blu-ray or whatever. Not BitTorrent, that's bad for you. That was a good movie. If you're a DC Comics fan, you know that they've been making some excellent DC animated films as opposed to their theatrical ones.
Yeah, for decades.
Yeah. See this movie. It was very good. So there.
I'm looking forward to it. We're going back to the tone deaf thing, and this is not quite film, but it does have to do with the world of superheroes. About a week ago, a VP of Marvel Comics blamed bad sales, and I'm sure you saw this, on that there was too much diversity in their comics. He said, there's probably a little too much product going at the time, blah, blah, blah. I don't know if those customers with a taste that had been around for 3 years really supported anything we try. New characters, nose turning up at just too much diversity because they've got female Thor, they've got Asian American Hulk, on and on. There's a lot of characters that had changed. And he said that because that came up in discussions at a trade show, supposedly. And you do a little digging on it. It turns out, yes, a couple retailers, not just retailers, but major retailers, did have comments where it had some of their customers said, we're not down with this. Okay, in one respect, I can understand, okay, you're not thrilled because it's not the Hulk that you've known for 50-odd years, so that kind of puts you off a bit. The problem is only 2 people said that out of 14 that were there. And he's saying that, well, this is the problem why our sales have slumped. But if your sales have slumped, it's probably because you have so many new characters. Captain America is a bad guy in the comics and has been for a year. That's going to put people off. And on top of it, DC finally realized, we can have some hopeful titles with Rebirth. Like you said, they've rebooted twice now, recently in the past few years. DC finally realized, maybe the comic should be fun. Not everything has to be dark and grim like Batman. Thank God they figured that out. So, talk about being tone deaf, like the fanboy comment. This guy thinks, people aren't down with female heroes or black heroes or whatever. It's like, because there have been a lot of changes. I don't think anyone is not reading Iron Man because Iron Man is now is she a teenager? Anyway, she's a young black girl. It's the Invincible Iron, or whatever they're calling her. Because you can't really call her Iron Man because she's not a man, but they are calling it Invincible Iron Man. Well, you can't tell what she is under the suit. Hawkeye.
The Invincible Iron Woman, the comic book about Margaret Thatcher.
Played by Kristen Bale. I don't think the issue with Marvel is that there's too much diversity. Is there's been so much change. There's a lot of churn. I mean, Tony Stark is, last I understand, Tony Stark is somewhere in limbo, so he's not around. And as popular as the character is in the film, to not have him in your comics, that's kind of a problem. So it's just turmoil, and there's so much change. I think there would be problems if every one of those characters were white males, but they weren't Bruce Banner, they weren't Tony Stark. It's still problems because they're still the wrong characters. I think that's the issue. Then to just come out and say, well, we got a female Thor and people aren't into that and they're not going to read it. It's like, dude, what century are you from? So wake up, Mr. Gabriel, and he's been ripped for it. So David Gabriel, you're a moron. I'll throw my voice in there with the other 100,000 that have said that. Back to films and film.
We switched to Marvel.
Let's stick with Marvel. You finally finished Iron Fist. What did you think of the Iron Fist show in toto?
Once I got through with it, and you told me to tell this story. This past week, I went to visit the in-laws, which is always fun. So one of the things I decided to do was load up my laptop with as many things for me to binge watch as I could. So I was binge watching Iron Fist. My wife and my daughters and my mother-in-law had gone out, leaving me and my father-in-law at home. He had gone outside to do something with the yard. Fine. I'm in the living room getting close to finishing up Iron Fist. Now, the last 30 minutes of the last episode is pretty much talking and exposition and everything. Fine. So I've got my laptop turned up as loud as this pitiful little thing will go. And that's when my father-in-law decides to start blow-drying the back porch with a chainsaw, which is what it sounded like to me anyway. So pause, and I'll come back to this later. Yes, Laszlo, go do whatever the hell you're doing. Anyway, finally finished Iron Fist. And Todd has gone remarkably quiet. That's okay. Or have I gone quiet? I'm not sure which.
No, I was just laughing. I didn't want to just completely cover everything
laugh away.
You were saying. Anyway.
Production.
Yes.
See, behind the stuff, laugh on microphone. That way I don't know. Oh, I bombed that bad. He's fine.
Oh my gosh.
My Iron Fist. Wow. Danny Rand is an idiot, but he's I'm not sure if he's an idiot or just excruciatingly naive. Probably both. The series is not quite that bad as everyone seems to be making it out to be. I think my biggest complaint, apart from the slow motion fight scenes, because the fight scenes in this are the worst Marvel has done so far, and I'm not trying to knock the guy playing Danny Rand. I'm not trying to knock any of the bad guys. I'm not trying to knock any of the other good guys who showed up. It's just not as well done, and you can tell. The thing that threw me off the most is that it'll have about 5 minutes of show and then go into the opening theme. And there were times when I wasn't paying enough attention. I'll put it on the TV or something, and I'll turn around and a theme song will start, and it's not Daft Punk, but it sounds like it. And so for just a split second, I think, did someone change the channel and put on the second Tron movie? And
you
I'll turn back around. well, I'll turn back around and go, no, it's not Tron 2. I can tell because Tron 2 had better choreography.
Yeah. I agree with you on Iron Fist. The character is really naive, and yeah, I get that can work, and that's how he's supposed to be, but he seems to be really stupid at times. But the thing that really bothered me again is the fight sequences. I mean, Daredevil in the first season, when he's learning to be Daredevil, was a better fighter than Danny Rand, who's been studying for 12 years on how to fight. Like
15.
What? 15. I mean, it's like, come on. Makes no sense. I really don't understand the decision. If the guy can't fight on film, and I'm not saying they should have, cast a Shaolin monk or, cast a UFC fighter or something like that, but if you can't convincingly portray fighting skill on film, you're not the right actor. And I don't get why they did that, because he should be the best martial artist of the 4 leads in the Defenders, and he is by far the worst. Makes no sense to me whatsoever.
I mean, if you go to DC for a minute, Batman is supposed to be the epitome of martial arts fighting in the DC universe. Right. His equivalent in Marvel is Iron Fist, and he is not in this TV series.
No, he is not. Which, maybe he'll get better. God, I hope so. They've got to figure out a different way to film him. Or seriously, I would be fine with them rebooting. They're not going to, because they're already filming the Defenders, or they've already filmed it. But yeah, I would be more than happy to have something terrible happen to Iron Fist. And when they come back for the second season, if they come back for a second season of Iron Fist, they've recast it. And they just explain it because he's reborn, because this is the next Iron Fist. At least they put that in there. That's right, there's always another Iron Fist. It'd be kind of weird if it's the next one, but, have him killed off by the big bad in Defenders, which would be shocking. No one would expect that, except anyone who listens to us, because now they're going to look for it. And just recast it. And I feel bad for the guy, because he's playing the role as he's given. The actor is not dumb, but that's how they've written the character. But the actor does need to be better at martial arts. That's the damn role, and he's not. As someone who watches UFC, there are thousands of people walking the planet right now who could more conveniently do that, and probably could act as well. I mean, that's...
Hey, you want to be picky?
Yes, I want to be picky.
If you
be picky.
I had that quote on Facebook earlier about the WWE. I think most of them could have done better.
I don't know if they would have the speed, but some of them could, yeah. But that doesn't bring it... At least Stephanie McMahon's not playing Iron Fist. We do have that.
Well,
we do have that.
Thank God.
So, yeah, boy.
For me, the bright spot of this series was Jessica Henwick playing Colleen Wing.
Yeah.
Because
she's very good.
She was the most likable character in this series, even with the plot twist halfway through. And I think easily the best martial artist in the series. I'm not completely knocking Finn Jones. Finn Jones can probably quite easily kick my ass, and that's fine. But I am a guy with a microphone, not playing a martial artist in a major TV series.
And that's the thing. We're not saying that. Oh wow, he looks terrible. He doesn't. But in comparison to the standard, like you said, he should be the best martial artist in the Marvel universe, and he clearly isn't. Yes. Because they've already shown you 3 people that he's going to be teaming up with that are better. And obviously, Luke Cage it's a stretch to call what he does martial art, but just as far as fighting ability, he's a better fighter. That's how they filmed it. We're not talking about the actors. We're just talking about what shows up on the screen. So they've got to do something, because that's irritating.
When I first heard they were making Iron Fist, I thought they cast it beautifully because it was supposed to be Ray Park. If you don't know Ray Park, he played Darth Maul in
that would have been something else.
Star Wars movie, and that would have been awesome.
Yeah.
But this, I like Marvel's Netflix series, but
I love them.
bear with me. This was still, it's not completely unwatchable. It's certainly a watchable series, but you're going to kind of go, I do have issues with it. It's not as bad as Legends of Tomorrow has become.
Yeah, I don't watch Legends of Tomorrow. Yeah, I enjoyed Iron Fist. It's just that it's disappointing because it should have been better. Because they've built Daredevil started out great, and then Jessica Jones just like, wow, where did that come from? And then the second season of Daredevil and Luke Cage, and it's like, holy cow, this is amazing. And then Iron Fist, and it's like, well, okay, that's good TV. And it is. It's good TV. But we were expecting a lot more from that, considering what they have done on Netflix, because it's up until Iron Fist, they were just knocking it out of the park every time. So, park.
I'm not knocking the other characters. To me, I was looking forward to Iron Fist the most because he was the character I liked the most in the books.
Yeah. So, since you mentioning Netflix, they have done one thing recently, which I think is a terrible choice, and I think they mistakenly revealed part of their reasoning. They used to have the 5-star rating system. Now they've changed it to a simple thumbs up or thumbs down. And they say that's easier for the viewer. It's simpler. Well, yeah, it's simpler for the viewer. If you're too ignorant to understand, if you really don't like something, click 1 star. And if you love it, click 5. If you can't figure that out, and if it's something in between, click something in between, then by all means, click yes or no. But one of their executives said that they looked at their numbers for the Adam Sandler films, and they said they had really high viewership, yet they were consistently poorly rated. So they thought, well, we should just change the rating system. Well, guess what, moron? You're still going to get a bunch of thumbs down for the Adam Sandler movies because they suck. They may get a lot of people to watch them for some unknown reason. Maybe Adam Sandler and his buddies sit there and, have 1,500 laptops clicked up in serial, and they just have the script running, and it plays Adam Sandler movies all the time to make you think they're getting the viewership. But of all the ignorant freaking things to do, let's dumb down the system because people aren't smart enough to figure out how to rate something from on a 1 to 5 scale. Like, holy crap. And then to tie it in with Adam Sandler, because I guess he was embarrassed that he has a bunch of 1-star ratings on Netflix. Like, wow. Ridiculous.
It's one major word that is the reasoning they've done this. The reason that people watch Adam Sandler movies, narrowed down to one word: alcohol.
Perhaps when you have a lot of alcohol, it is easier to click the thumb up or the thumb down.
Well, if you're drunk enough, you'll watch anything, including an Adam Sandler movie. That's my theory, anyway. And I'm sticking to it.
There's nothing wrong with a thumbs up or thumb down rating. We use it ourselves. I mean, of course, that's been around it's been around since the Romans, obviously, but it's a time-honored concept, but there's no sense in changing something that works and then say, oh, well, this is going to be better. It's like, so you lose a lot of nuance. Either it's good or bad, period. Instead of saying, well, it was great. Well, it was terrible. Oh, it was okay. Makes no sense to me. So Netflix, that was a terrible decision. Terrible.
Bad Netflix.
Very, very bad. Indeed.
Leaving on a bad note, I think.
No,
I've run out of stuff.
Let's leave on a good note. Another streaming service, Hulu. Dimension 404, a new series just starting on Hulu. They are trying to make their version of Black Mirror, which Netflix has. Let me rephrase that. I don't think they're actually trying to make a version of Black Mirror. It's a sci-fi series, but all 3 episodes that I've seen so far have quite an element of humor to it, so it's more sci-fi with some comedy. Not comedy sci-fi, but with some lighter moments. The first episode was quite interesting about a dating service, and it turns out to be, I don't really give you much detail, but it's a dating service and things kind of go awry. I'll just leave it at that. Very good. A lot of humor to it, and it more of a comedic episode than dramatic, but it's worth watchable. The second one stars Patton Oswalt as a guy who goes to a movie theater and gets tied up in an alien invasion, which they will tell you in the promo for it, so I'm not giving you any spoilers on that. It's not as good as the first or the third episodes, but it's good. It's fun. Patton Oswalt's great, so that was worth watching. And then the third one was a young lady who was trying to get a term paper done and gets involved in time travel and an old TV show that she watched when she was a kid. Also very fun.
Wasn't that a Calvin and Hobbes episode?
I'm sorry, what?
Wasn't that a Calvin and Hobbes comic strip?
God, I wish it was a Calvin and Hobbes comic strip. That would make me happy. But yeah, it's similar to that. Anyway, definitely catch Dimension 404. There's 3 episodes on now, and they're going to be releasing them new episodes on Tuesday. So run over to Hulu for Dimension 404. Run to Netflix and give a big thumbs up to the things you like and a big thumbs down to the Adam Sandler movies. And that's about all I got.
I'm getting a 404 file not found error.
Of course.
I made a sci-fi joke. Anyway.
Later this week.
Yeah. What have you got coming up?
On the Happy Hour Network, which is one of the networks that show appears on, there will be the 12th Man Rising Seahawks show, the rebranded Seahawks show called 12th Man Rising with Lee. And on Wednesdays, Late Night Parent with Ted Hicks. Saturday morning, we'll have Baseball Beer Barbecue. Actually, Lee and I are going to be on the Sunday version of Late Night Parent with Ted in about 15 minutes, which he's already started right now. Anyway, so we'll be on that tonight.
Hi, Ted.
What do you have coming, sir?
Oh, coming up this week, there will be a FWAT show tomorrow on the Coil Entertainment Network, which you can now get to by typing coil.us, COIL.us.
Lovely.
See, it's considerably shorter. And it'll include travel tips for your upcoming spring break. Like, don't try to binge watch Iron Fist while someone's blow drying a porch with a chainsaw.
Exactly.
And coming up on 2 Pages of Mystery, I would like to say that the 2 Pages of Mystery episode this week was set and put up before the It trailer came out. Because with all the anti-clown environment and everything, it's not my fault that this week's episode, we try to find out who killed a clown at a volunteer circus in a story called Bubbles. Not my fault.
It's totally your fault.
It just came out that way. If you'd like to complain about the show or send us a message or anything, new email address, cinemasavants@coil.us. That's coil, COYL, .us. I made it easier. So there.
Lovely. And now you get to say goodbye.
Ta-da. Good night, everybody.
Ariel! Oopa! Ride!
Do you think they will let me live in Montana?
I was thinking of the immortal words of Socrates, who said, I drank what?
Man, we have a weird job.
It's shameful, but it's a living.
Darn, that's the end.